Hey there, cats and kittens, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of The MonkeyBoy Presents the DC Comics Superhero Collection by Eaglemoss, and I'm happy to bring you issue number 119 in the series, Elongated Man, also known as Ralph Dibny, and this is a great character. If you're unfamiliar with him, that's too bad. I think he's one of the best characters out of the DC universe. He's definitely a supporting character. You'd never see him getting his own comic book necessarily, but a mini-series or something like that would be awesome. He is not only super stretchable, as I'm sure you can tell by the cover of the magazine and the figure itself, and his name, of course, he's also one of the DCU's most brilliant detectives. He's up there with Batman, maybe even a little better than Batman. He's also a chemist. If you are familiar with Elongated Man, chances are that's probably because you saw him on one of several appearances on Justice League Unlimited, where he was voiced by the Emmy Award-winning actor Jeremy Piven, most famous from Entourage, I think. Good appearances on Justice League, too. He was a lot of fun. And he also more recently appeared on an episode of Batman the Brave and the Bold, where he was featured alongside the other shapeshifter, Plastic Man, and it was neat to see those two working alongside each other in their differing personalities, even though their powers are kind of the same. It's a lot of fun. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Elongated Man, well, that of course is why we have the magazine, which we'll take a look at first, and it'll tell you everything you need to know about Ralph Dibny. And then we'll take a look at the figure itself, covering the good, the bad, and the ugly. A really cool figure, a really interesting hero in the DC universe, and the second to last issue in this collection. So I hope you sit back, relax, and enjoy issue number 119 of the DC Comics Superhero Collection by Eaglemoss, Elongated Man. First up, the character section. Elongated Man, aka Ralph Dibny, was born and raised in Waymore, Nebraska, and enjoyed being the center of attention. He was known for always having a great sense of humor and loved to pull pranks on people. From childhood, he had a passion for science and chemistry, and at the age of 9 saw a traveling circus with a contortionist. Ralph became obsessed with the ancient discipline and studied under many different swamis, but could never gain their flexibility no matter how much he practiced. Then he learned that all of his teachers drank the same soft drink, called gingold. Using his skills as a chemist, he distilled the essence of the gingo fruit before drinking it. Although toxic to most people, Ralph survived and discovered the juice had activated a latent metagene in his own body, granting him superhuman stretching abilities. As the newest superhero in Central City, it wasn't long before Ralph encountered the Flash. While both were investigating a string of robberies, the two worked together so well they teamed up on many different occasions. Soon after this, Ralph married his longtime girlfriend, the wealthy debutante Sue Dearborn. It was on their honeymoon that Ralph had to suddenly leave so he could rescue the Flash from the clutches of the evil Captain Boomerang. Ralph also proved to have a natural talent for deduction and began a career as a detective for hire. He came to the aid of Green Lantern in Coast City and received a new costume from Sue as a reward. Elongated Man went on to solve many other mysteries in the DCU and was approached by the sorceress Zatanna to help find her father in the realm of Karma. Ralph agreed, traveled to Karma with members of the Justice League of America, and helped defeat the bizarre creatures that were holding Zatanna's father prisoner. For proving how invaluable he was on this mission to the Justice League, they made him a permanent member of the team. Ralph went on to join the Justice League International, who were being funded by multi-billionaire businessman Maxwell Lord. Ralph and Sue moved to Paris so he could fight alongside the likes of Captain Atom, Power Girl, Booster Gold, Blue Beetle, The Flash, and many others. After many missions, the team was eventually renamed the Justice League Europe. After moving to Opal City, Ralph and Sue worked on cases with local hero Starman, and managed to save the city when it was threatened by the sorcery of the evil dwarf Simon Culp. Not long after this, Ralph was approached by Maxwell Lord once again to join his new version of the JLE, nicknamed the Super Buddies. He joined, but the team didn't last long, and after an accidental trip to Hell, the Super Buddies broke up. Then, the unthinkable happened. Sue Dibney, the Elongated Man's wife, was assassinated by a close ally of the Justice League in the event known as the Identity Crisis. After resigning from the Justice League, Ralph struggled to go on without Sue. The one-time jovial jokester was now grim and deadly. He stopped drinking his gingold juice, retired Elongated Man, and became a full-time private detective. When the Society of Supervillains tore through Opal City and Ralph and Sue's marital home was destroyed, he snapped and was about to commit suicide when he learned there may be a way to resurrect Sue. Using the helm of Dr. Fate, he embarked on a new investigation. As Ralph Dibney, the Elongated Man, lay there dying, he took satisfaction in the knowledge that he had tricked the trickster demon Neron, and had trapped both he and Felix Faust for all eternity, ridding the world of two great evils. Ralph's spirit then joined Sue's in the afterlife, and at one time the pair temporarily possessed the bodies of a mercenary couple named Gunhawk and Gun Bunny. Next, we look at a couple of Elongated Man's classic stories. First, we look at The Starman Omnibus, Volume 6. And this is a pulse-pounding thriller of a story that primarily features Starman since it is his book, but it also features the Elongated Man when the two heroes' paths cross. Elongated Man is investigating a series of murders, while the Starman has just returned from an intergalactic adventure, and they end up teaming up to figure out what is going on. It really is a nice portrayal of Elongated Man because we see him as the detective, and we get to see that he really is more interested in the truth than just getting a bad guy put behind bars. He wants to find the right man. It's a beautifully illustrated story and a wonderful Elongated Man tale to check out if you're unfamiliar with the character. We also have Identity Crisis. This is a story that I wonder why they chose to include in this magazine as one of his classics. It is far from that. It is a book that I would say to avoid at all costs. The only thing of note that really happens over the course of this story, and it's a shame it happens at all, is the fact that Sue Dibney, Ralph's longtime wife, is murdered in a very awful, shocking, terrible way. And if you ever read this book, you'll never, ever, ever look at the Justice League in the same light again. Elongated Man's Friends and Foes section features his longtime love and wife, Sue Dibney, the financier of the Justice League International, Maxwell Lord, his teammates on the Justice League International, also known as the Super Buddies, and longtime friend, The Flash. Finally, the iconography section looks at some of the other everlasting loves in the DCU. It first looks at the longtime love affair and forbidden romance between Batman and Talia al Ghul, Monsieur Mala and the Brain, a gorilla bodyguard and his cybernetic boss, who became more than just friends, Gotham City Sirens and BFFs, Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn. The love affair between Superman and Lois Lane is one of the most iconic and long-lasting loves in the DCU. And lastly, the rocky romance between Green Arrow and Black Canary.
And here we have Elongated Man, also known as Ralph Dibny, and this is another great character in the collection as far as I'm concerned. I think he's very well represented here in this figure form, not just his powers, but also Ralph's personality of just being this happy-go-lucky guy who's just always a nice guy. He's just friendly and happy all the time. I like that his powers are on display with the figure, the way his one arm is all twisted up there. I like the costume choice they went with on him too. There's really lots of positives on him. You can see he's holding a bottle of the Gingold soda. Is this little formula there that he drinks to give him his powers. It's just nicely done all the way around. A great figure to add to the collection. A really nice character too. This is one of the reasons I like this collection so much, is they're not afraid to do some of the more obscure heroes in the DCU. And Elongated Man, as much as I like him, he's definitely a second or third tier hero. He's not an A-lister, he's a co-star, but he's a great co-star to have. And here's hoping we see him on the new Flash TV show, because he was name dropped on there. Anyway, more of this figure, what I like and what I do dislike, coming up in the next section in just a moment.
Elongated Man stands atop the classic DC logo, and the underside of the base features his name in a couple of different languages, as well as his serial number. And so you can compare, here he is next to his friend, the Flash, alongside the other heroes and villains in the DC collection that share shape and size changing abilities similar to Elongated Man. And finally, alongside his teammates on the Justice League International. Elongated Man, aka Ralph Dibny, is a wonderful figure to include in this collection. This is one of the reasons I like the Eaglemoss collection so much, is because they aren't afraid to include some of the lesser known characters in this series, and I think Elongated Man is a great choice, and he's well represented in this figure. We'll begin as always with the good. Everything on this guy, as far as I'm concerned, is good. I love the pose. I think the fact that they incorporated not only his powers, but also his scientific prowess with his Gingold juice there in the bottle. I think that's a wonderful inclusion. His expression is great. The outfit is a nice choice. We'll start at the base of the figure. The boots are nicely done, nicely sculpted. They look like they're worn in. I like the glossy black. They make it look as though they're made of some sort of leather material or something like that. Moving up along his lower body, you can see the outfit is a bodysuit basically, which makes sense. Him being a stretchable character, he would wear like a one-piece. I love the two-tone of it as well. This sculpting really shows off the musculature. I love the lavender, the purple's very nice, the white too, and they're flat. They look like they're made of some sort of fabric. They're not a glossy paint job, which is really cool. The logo on the chest is all hand painted, that EM for Elongated Man, and it's very nicely done. And the striping is also hand painted, and I like how it travels around his chest and on his arms. It's very perfectly done, just like the comic books. His left arm in that spiral, again showing off his elongated flexible powers and how he can stretch and shape his body that way. And his right arm holding the bottle of Gingold juice, which is of course where he gets his powers from, or at least it triggers the metagene in him that makes him all stretchy. So I think that's a great choice to include that. And the Gingold it's painted. I'm assuming it's stenciled on, because it is not a sticker, and it's very well done. I'm glad they chose to incorporate that. Makes me smile. Speaking of smiles, the head sculpt on Ralph is perfect. It looks just like him. I like that they chose to go with the shaggier hair. It makes it easier to sculpt, I assume, and it also shows off the color. I love that red, that auburn sort of color that he has. This sculpt on the face is nicely done. His eyes, his smile. It looks like Ralph, that happy-go-lucky Ralph Dibny, the Elongated Man. On to the bad. There's really nothing inherently bad about this figure, honestly. The only bad on mine is some minor bleeding on the right hand where he's holding the bottle of Gingold juice. You can see that metallic gold, which I also like. I forgot to mention that metallic gold on the bottle is very nice, but it did bleed into the hand a little bit. So you might want to watch out for that. All in all, though, it is a very minor gripe on a really nice figure. Finally, the ugly. You want to watch that left arm. I have heard from the comic book shop guy that I bought these from, he got 3 in the case, and this was the only one that wasn't broken when he received it. So if you can check before you purchase, I'd recommend doing so. Overall, Elongated Man is an excellent figure. I can really find nothing wrong with him, just the minor bleeding on my figure personally, but you can probably find one that's perfect. I love the costume choice. As I mentioned previously, the fact that they went with this lavender and white costume as opposed to one of his red, black, and yellow outfits, I think was a great choice because it breaks up the collection. He looks awesome alongside his fellow Justice League International characters that were included in this collection. It's nice to have him there, especially alongside the Flash, where he debuted basically, and looks like he probably will debut on that TV show. He was name dropped on The Flash, the new Flash TV show, if you didn't catch that. Another good reason to include him in your collection is because he's the final member of the Justice League proper. He is a reserve member of the Justice League, or I guess he was made an official member of the Justice League. So here is a group shot of every single character in this collection who is a member of the Justice League. I'm pretty sure I got them all. I hope you enjoy. Ralph Dibny, Elongated Man, is a wonderful figure. I highly recommend him. I think you should include him in your collection. One of the great figures, I think, in this. I like the lesser-known characters and figures, what can I say? And I think he's a really awesome figure to go out on. I almost wish he was the final figure in the collection, but we'll cover that figure next time. And what character is that going to be? Well, you have to stay tuned for the quick teaser after this, because I'll give you a preview, of course, of the final issue in the DC Comics superhero collection. A character I really like, but you'll see, I think, why I have some issues with him. Please stay tuned for that quick teaser. As always, I am your host, the Monkey Boy, aka Jay to his friends. Thanks for watching.